Hey guys, Filmsuit here. So after a fitting Memorial Day weekend of a couple of parties and outings, along with that, I saw The Hangover Part 3. And I will say, I'm probably the only one here, but I enjoyed it. Alright, so Hangover Part 3. The premise is it takes place 2 years after the events of number 2. This time, Alan, Zach Galifianakis' character, he goes off of his medication, and after one of his stunts goes too far, it's the giraffe one that you saw in the trailers. So after that whole incident, his dad dies of a heart attack, and his actions and behavior at the funeral, which are awkward and hilarious at the same time. After after that, Phil, Stu, and Doug, and they all decide that what's best for Alan is to drive him to a rehab center to help him get his life back in order. On their way there, they get ambushed by this criminal named Marshall, played by John Goodman, who tells them that Mr. Chow has stolen $20 million in gold from him, and he takes Doug as hostage and tells the wolf pack that they have 3 days to find the gold or he'll kill Doug. That said, like I said, I enjoyed this movie. I'm like, uh, like, so let's kind of break it down. Like, the first one is a comedy masterpiece. Like, I know I'm probably the millionth person to say that, but I am a huge fan of the first movie. It's one of my favorite comedies. It made my top 10 in 2009. The second one was a huge disappointment because all it did was repeat the first one all over again. The third one, they changed things up quite a bit. Like, honestly, this kind of passes as more of an action movie or a crime thriller than a comedy. And don't get me wrong, it is funny. I did laugh the whole way through, but like it's not really memorable like the first one necessarily, but it's definitely funnier than the second one because it's all new jokes compared to the second movie. Now, yeah, and also like Zach Galifianakis and Ken Jeong, Mr. Chow, they steal every scene in the movie. And another thing that they improved on was Bradley Cooper, his character Phil. He didn't really have that much to do in the last one. He was just kind of standing around doing nothing. This one, they actually give him a lot to do and a lot to work with. And he's kind of like the stunt man. Like, there's a scene, again, you've seen it in the trailers, where Bradley Cooper and Zach Galifianakis, they have to sneak onto the balcony of this hotel, which, by the way, is one of the most well choreographed and intense action sequences I've seen all year. And didn't expect to say that about a comedy, but yeah. Like, Bradley Cooper's kind of more the stuntman in this movie and is given a lot more to do. And believe it or not, Ed Helms, his character Stu, who you saw just complain and freak out and just kind of act as kind of a pushover in the first two movies, he didn't really have a lot to do in this one. That's one of my complaints about it. And what else? And there are some other complaints I had, or some other issues, like at times the tone was a little unbalanced, but it didn't bother me too much, even though an unbalanced tone for movies is one of my biggest pet peeves. I did expect it to happen with this one just because of what they were trying to do in terms of like changing the tone. And now, what else? Oh, Ken Jeong, his character Mr. Chow, they give him so much to do, and in some ways he's kind of the excuse me. In some ways, he's kind of the hero of this movie. Like, he is more of a protagonist in this one than he was in the first two. Like, first one, he's the bad guy. The second one, he's just kind of neutral. He's just there. The third one, he is definitely more of the hero or an anti-hero. And you really get to understand just why he is the way he is. And you actually learn that even though he's such a jackass and is always crazy and always gets the wolf pack in the middle of whatever he's doing. He does it because he considers them his friends, kind of like how Alan interacts and is always getting the wolf pack into trouble. And John Goodman is a menacing, badass villain, and honestly, I expect that out of John Goodman. Like, he's great in anything, good or bad, that I like him in, or that I've seen. And then Melissa McCarthy has a good cameo in it. She's really funny, and yet very... Her scene with Zach Galifianakis, or scenes, are very awkward. And oh my gosh. They are some of the most uncomfortable romance scenes I've ever seen, but I'm a sucker for uncomfortable humor, so I loved every minute of that. Now, yeah, not sure what else to say about this movie, but I could see why people hate it. I could see why, I could see why it's flopping at the theaters, just because the second one was a huge disappointment, and this one looked completely different from the trailers compared to the other two. So I could understand why people might not see it, but I advise giving it a chance. Take it from a guy who caused a lot of controversy and not liking the second one that much. Give the third one a chance. This should be considered the Hangover Part 2. Hangover Part 2 is more like Hangover 1.5 or Hangover the Director's Cut. So, yeah, that's my review. I'm probably not going to get around to reviewing anything this weekend, but stay tuned next week. I might get around to reviewing The Purge, but yeah, I'll keep you posted, and you can follow me at Filmsuit on Twitter.